Jennifer sat in her small Chicago apartment, hands shaking as she stared at the elegant card in her lap. A name on it made her chest tighten: Rebecca Martinez. Ryan Walsh and Rebecca Martinez. Her ex-husband. Her best friend. Jennifer could barely process what she was reading. This wasn't just betrayal, it was unimaginable. "Mommy?" Emma asked, tilting her head. "Why is Daddy marrying Aunt Becca?" The question cut deeper than any blade. Jennifer couldn't speak. Jennifer smiled weakly. "Sweetheart. Sometimes adults do confusing things." She hid the invitation behind her, heart pounding. They had laughed like sisters. 15 years of friendship, secrets, and unconditional loyalty, so she thought. "I don't love you anymore, Jennifer. I need to move on." His words hit like stone. She remembered every second of that day. "Jen, I can explain. It wasn't planned." Rebecca's voice cracked through the phone. But the damage was already done. The card flew from her hand. It landed in the trash with finality. Jennifer stood frozen, heart racing. Her thoughts spiraled. This couldn't be happening. Her two most trusted people had rewritten her story behind her back. She gripped the counter as if it could hold her together. But nothing felt solid anymore. The photo once brought comfort. Now, it was just a snapshot of betrayal. Sleep didn't come. Her mind replayed conversations, glances, moments, searching for signs she had missed. She had loved both of them deeply, in different ways. That's what made the pain feel impossible to carry. "Missed call. Rebecca." She let it ring out. Again. And again. Silence was safer. She barely recognized herself. The woman in the mirror looked haunted. The world outside kept moving. People lived, laughed, married. Her world had just collapsed. Emma drew a happy family: Mom, Dad, and Aunt Becca. Jennifer's throat closed, but she smiled anyway. She hadn't thrown it far enough. Its edge still showed. A cruel reminder of what was lost. She read it one more time, as if the words would change. They didn't. It was real. "I thought I knew them. But it was all a lie. Just not the kind I expected." Her voice cracked. And so did something inside her. 6 months earlier, Jennifer's life looked exactly how she always hoped it would. She walked through her sunlit kitchen in Naperville, her slippers brushing against the hardwood floor. The house was peaceful, alive with a hum of domestic quiet. On the fridge were school drawings and family photos. 10 years married to Ryan, raising Emma together, and building a home that looked like stability. She didn't know yet that this perfect calm was just a prelude to the storm. Getting ready for another shift at St. Mary's Hospital, Jennifer adjusted her scrubs with practiced efficiency. Being a nurse grounded her. It gave her structure and meaning. Ryan had already left for work, and Emma's laughter drifted from the living room as the babysitter arrived. Life had a rhythm. Morning routine. School drop-offs. Sunday dinners. It all moved like clockwork. Nothing felt wrong, at least not enough to alarm her. But something in the background had already started shifting. Emma ran into the hallway with her favorite stuffed giraffe, arms wide. "Mommy," she squealed, crashing into Jennifer's legs. Jennifer knelt down, catching her daughter in a tight hug. Her presence was Jennifer's daily reminder of purpose. Emma was full of energy, full of life, talkative, funny, sensitive. Jennifer kissed her forehead and smiled. "Be good today, okay?" she said. Emma nodded solemnly, then skipped off. That bright little girl had no idea how her world was about to change. That evening, Rebecca arrived for dinner, just like she did almost every week. She held a steaming casserole and wore her usual easy smile. "Don't say I never cook," she teased as Jennifer opened the door. They hugged like sisters. Rebecca was more than a friend. She had been by Jennifer's side since their Northwestern University days. Through breakups, finals, wedding plans, births. She was Emma's favorite aunt, always present, always loyal. Or so Jennifer believed with all her heart. Later that night, the two women sat on the couch, wine glasses in hand. "You remember Professor Malone?" Jennifer asked, laughing. "Oh God, that man hated me," Rebecca replied. The conversation drifted between memory and motherhood, work and worries. Emma played quietly at their feet, brushing her doll's hair. It was a night like many others. Comfortable, open, unguarded. Jennifer felt lucky. Not everyone had a best friend like this. And not everyone got to share family dinners so easily. Their life together played like a highlight reel. One frame, Rebecca handing Emma a cupcake at her birthday party. Another, Ryan carrying Emma on his shoulders during a beach vacation, Rebecca walking beside them. Christmas morning, pajamas, gifts, laughter, and the three adults beaming with joy. Rebecca was everywhere, as if woven into the fabric of their family. And Jennifer never once questioned it. To her, Rebecca wasn't just trusted, she was a cornerstone in their lives. Jennifer stood at the sink, drying dishes, when she noticed Ryan through the window. He was outside, speaking on the phone. His voice was low, his expression tight. When he saw her watching, he turned his back. She blinked, trying to dismiss the moment. Maybe it was work. Maybe he was planning a surprise. But a chill crawled up her spine. It wasn't just this call. Lately, he'd been distant, quiet. Not angry, just absent in a way she couldn't quite name yet. The night felt heavy. Jennifer came into the bedroom to find Ryan sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded without turning around. She walked closer, uncertain. "Long day?" He finally looked up. "Yeah. Just tired." But something in his eyes said otherwise, like he was far away, not just exhausted but lost. She sat beside him, hoping he'd reach for her. He didn't. She didn't press. Maybe tomorrow would feel different. They lay in bed, inches apart, but it felt like miles. Ryan's back faced her. His breathing was too even, too deliberate to be real sleep. Jennifer watched the ceiling, her thoughts racing. She remembered when nights were filled with whispered jokes, arms tangled, late-night talks. Now, only silence remained. She reached for the lamp and turned off the light. Darkness filled the room, but it wasn't what scared her. What scared her was the feeling that she was already losing him. In the quiet of morning, Jennifer watched Ryan pick up his keys and head toward the garage. "Have a good day," she said. He paused, nodded, but didn't look back. The door clicked shut. Jennifer stood there, still holding her coffee, heart heavy. Something had shifted. Not with a crash, but gradually, like sand slipping between her fingers. She didn't know what was happening. But she could feel it coming, slow and quiet, like a wave just before it breaks. Jennifer stared at the clock again. 9:48 p.m. Ryan had said he'd be home by 8. She texted him, "Everything okay?" No reply. His late nights had become more frequent lately, and she was starting to feel like an afterthought in her own marriage. She opened their shared calendar, no meetings tonight. Her stomach turned. A part of her still wanted to believe it was work stress. But a louder part had started whispering, "Something's wrong." She dialed his office line. A man answered. "He left hours ago," he said casually. Jennifer paused. "Do you know where he went?" The silence on the other end told her everything. "Sorry," he said quickly, "I thought he mentioned dinner plans." She ended the call, her fingers trembling slightly. A familiar coldness crept into her chest, the kind she hadn't felt since her father got sick. The kind that said, "You're being lied to, and it's not by mistake." When Ryan finally walked in, he didn't expect to see Jennifer waiting at the foot of the stairs. "You said 8, she said quietly. He blinked. "Got caught up." "Why are you still up?" "Because you didn't answer your phone," she replied. He shrugged, heading toward the kitchen. "Didn't hear it." His calmness was infuriating. "Where were you, Ryan?" she asked. He turned slowly. "Don't do this, Jen." His voice was tired, dismissive. Like she was the problem for even asking. The next evening, they sat in the same room but felt miles apart. Jennifer curled into one end of the couch, arms crossed, eyes on nothing. Ryan flipped through channels like it meant something. He didn't ask about her day. Didn't notice dinner hadn't been touched. When she finally spoke, it came out dry. "Do you want to talk about it?" He didn't look at her. "Talk about what?" She didn't answer. What was the point? A few days later, Jennifer met Rebecca for coffee. "I don't know what's happening," Jennifer said, staring into her cup. Rebecca nodded, but her eyes stayed fixed on the table. "He's just distant. It's like he's shutting me out." Rebecca shifted in her seat. "Maybe he's just overwhelmed?" Her voice cracked a little. Jennifer sighed. "You're always the one who gets him. I thought maybe you'd have insight." Rebecca smiled weakly. "Maybe he just needs space." The lie sat between them, bitter and heavy. As they said goodbye outside, Rebecca hugged her, but it felt hollow. Her arms barely closed around Jennifer, her back tense, eyes scanning everything but her friend's face. Jennifer pulled back, confused. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah. Just tired," Rebecca said quickly. Jennifer nodded, pretending to believe her. But something felt off. For the first time in years, Rebecca seemed unreachable. It hurt. And it left Jennifer lonelier than she realized. Another evening, Jennifer confided in Rebecca again, this time in the kitchen over wine. Last night, he picked a fight over a dirty dish. A dish, Becca, she laughed bitterly. He slammed the door and didn't speak to me until this morning. Rebecca nodded along but fidgeted with her glass, her eyes darting to the clock. Jennifer noticed. Am I boring you? She asked. Rebecca shook her head. No. Sorry. Just distracted. Jennifer wanted to believe her. She really did. That night, Jennifer heard something. Soft, muffled sobs. She followed the sound down the hallway, clutching her glass of water, heart pounding. The door to the garage was ajar. Light seeped through. She peeked inside and saw him, Ryan, sitting on the steps, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Her breath caught. What was he crying about? She stepped forward, quietly. Ryan? He looked up sharply, eyes wet, face startled. What's wrong? She asked softly, stepping closer. Ryan stood abruptly, wiping his face. Nothing. Just leave me alone. You're crying, she said. You don't cry. He shook his head. You wouldn't understand, Jennifer. Some things are too complicated. She stared at him, stunned. I'm your wife. Try me. He paused, jaw tight, then turned away. Not tonight. The words cut deep, not because of what he said, but because of what he refused to say. The next morning, Jennifer found Emma coloring on the living room rug. She sat nearby, quiet. Mommy, Emma said hesitantly, are you and Daddy going to get divorced like Maddie's parents? Jennifer's breath hitched. Why would you ask that? Emma shrugged, eyes wide. You were yelling. And Daddy sleeps on the couch now. Jennifer forced a smile. We're just having a rough patch. But Emma wasn't convinced. And neither was Jennifer. Not anymore. Tuesday morning began like any other. Jennifer poured coffee, still in her robe, while Ryan sat silently at the table. Then he looked up and said it, calm, cold, definitive. I don't love you anymore, Jennifer. There's nothing left between us. I want a divorce. The words didn't land, they detonated. She blinked, sure she'd misheard. What? He didn't flinch. I've already seen a lawyer. Her hands trembled. The coffee cooled. Nothing would ever be warm again. You can't just decide this alone, she whispered, heart pounding. What about therapy? What about Emma? Ryan shook his head slowly. I'm done pretending. This marriage is over. Jennifer leaned in, desperation spilling from her voice. You owe me more than this, Ryan. He finally looked at her, but his eyes were hollow. I'm sorry. But my mind's made up. Jennifer felt the ground shift beneath her feet. It wasn't a fight. It was an exit. She didn't remember grabbing her purse. She only knew she had to leave, breathe, understand. She muttered something about needing air and stumbled out the door. Where else could she go? Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Her chest felt like it might cave in. There was only one person she could think to see. Someone who'd always been her safe place. Rebecca. She banged on Rebecca's door, heart racing. No answer. She rang the bell, nothing. She looked through the window but the living room was empty. Please, she whispered aloud. Please be home. But the house stayed silent. Jennifer sat on the porch steps, phone in hand, tears running freely now. She called. Straight to voicemail. She texted. No reply. Her best friend, the one person who should be here, wasn't. She called again. Again. Left message after message, sobbing. Rebecca, please call me. Ryan. He wants a divorce. I don't know what to do. Please. Her voice cracked, her throat raw from crying. The world blurred around her. The only clarity she felt was pain. The betrayal hadn't hit yet. Only the loss. And she had never felt so small. When the phone finally rang, she jumped. Rebecca. Jennifer answered instantly, voice trembling. Becca? I'm so sorry I missed your calls, Rebecca said, tone stiff. Are you okay? Jennifer laughed bitterly. No. I'm not okay. He just dropped it on me like I was a stranger. Rebecca stayed quiet too long. That's awful. I'm here if you need me, she offered gently, but with distance. Jennifer frowned. Something in Rebecca's voice didn't feel right. Later that evening, Jennifer sat on the floor with Emma. Sweetheart, she said gently, Daddy's going to live somewhere else for a while. Emma's eyes widened. Why? He and I need some space. Emma's lip quivered. Is it because I was bad? Jennifer shook her head quickly. No, never. This isn't your fault. Emma buried her face in her mother's chest. Jennifer held her tightly, silently wishing she could protect her from this forever. Ryan packed with robotic precision. Shirts folded. Pants rolled. No words spoken. Jennifer stood at the doorway, arms crossed, tears dried but fury still fresh. "That's it?" she asked. "You just leave?" He didn't answer. Just zipped the bag and slung it over his shoulder. "Emma's going to hate you for this." He paused but didn't turn. "She'll understand one day." He walked out, leaving the bedroom, and Jennifer, emptier than ever, she sat at the kitchen table long after he left. His coffee mug was still there, steam long gone. The silence screamed. Her heart ached in a dull, unbearable throb. There had been no goodbye, no apology. Only cold facts in packed bags. She stared at the chair across from her, half expecting him to walk back in and say it was a mistake. But he wouldn't. This time, he was really gone. Emma stood by the window, holding the curtain just slightly aside, watching Ryan's car pull out of the driveway. "Is Daddy coming back tonight?" she asked. Jennifer swallowed the lump in her throat. "Not tonight, baby. Tomorrow? We'll see." Emma nodded, but her eyes filled with tears. Jennifer crouched beside her, pulling her into a hug. She didn't have the answers. All she had now was holding her daughter close. 2 weeks after Ryan left, Jennifer was driving through Lincoln Park when her breath caught. There it was, Ryan's car. Parked outside Rebecca's house. Her fingers tightened on the wheel. No. It had to be a coincidence. But her instinct screamed otherwise. She parked without thinking, her pulse already surging. Something inside her knew this wasn't going to be a misunderstanding. Still, she walked to the door, hoping, begging, to be wrong. She stepped onto the porch and glanced through the side window. What she saw made her legs go numb. There, in Rebecca's living room, was Ryan, relaxed, laughing, holding a glass of wine. Rebecca sat beside him on the couch. They looked comfortable. Intimate. Like a couple. Jennifer's breath caught. Her heart cracked. It wasn't just betrayal. It was betrayal with choreography, like they'd rehearsed this moment without her. Without thinking, Jennifer pushed the door open. Ryan jumped to his feet. Rebecca's smile vanished. "Jen," she stammered, voice trembling. "I can explain." "Explain?" Jennifer barked. "What, exactly? That my best friend is sleeping with my husband?" Rebecca stepped forward, hands up. "It wasn't planned, stop." Jennifer's voice cracked. "Don't say that." Ryan stood silent, watching it all unfold like a spectator, not a participant. Jennifer turned and stormed off the porch, her tears hot with rage. "Jen, please." Rebecca called after her. Jennifer didn't look back. She reached her car and slammed the door, breathing hard. Everything inside her screamed and shook. The betrayal was so sharp it felt physical, like something had torn in her chest. She gripped the steering wheel and screamed. Hours later, Jennifer sat in the dark. No TV. No music. Just silence. Her mind replayed every moment, every dinner, every hug, every night Rebecca had comforted her. All lies. She had cried on the shoulder of the woman who was secretly replacing her. Her best friend. Her confidant. Her sister. And all along, Rebecca knew. That pain was worse than the divorce. It was betrayal from someone she'd never thought capable of it. She called Ryan, hands shaking. He answered on the second ring. "How could you?" she demanded. "You didn't just leave me, you left and went straight to her?" "This isn't about you," Ryan said coldly. "Rebecca and I. We connected in a way you never understood." Jennifer let out a bitter laugh. "You're delusional." "No, Jennifer. You're blind. You always were." His words landed like knives. She ended the call mid-sentence and threw the phone across the room. One by one, she removed them from her world. Blocked Ryan. Blocked Rebecca. Deleted photos. Unfollowed accounts. She couldn't bear to see them smiling in her feed, living happily on the ashes of her life. Her hand trembled, but her decision didn't. This wasn't about maturity. It was survival. She needed space. Distance. Silence. Anything but them. That night, Emma curled up beside her with a storybook. "Mommy," she asked softly, "why doesn't Aunt Becca come over anymore?" Jennifer froze. "She's busy, honey." Emma nodded, unconvinced. "I miss her." Jennifer pulled her close, heart aching. "Sometimes people change, sweetie. Even the ones we love." She didn't want to lie. But Emma wasn't ready for the truth. Maybe Jennifer wasn't either. Jennifer lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unmoving, her eyes burning from exhaustion but refusing to close. Her body was still, but her mind raced with betrayal. She couldn't understand how Rebecca had looked her in the eye, how Ryan had watched her fall apart, knowing. Every detail they'd hidden now echoed in her chest like thunder. The hurt was no longer sharp, it was heavy. Unrelenting. Familiar. She picked up the old frame from her nightstand, her and Rebecca at graduation, arms around each other, beaming. They had been inseparable. Jennifer brushed a finger over the glass, then slowly set the frame face down on the shelf. A gesture so small, yet so final. She didn't smash it. She didn't scream. She just turned it away. Because some grief doesn't need volume, it only needs silence. 3 months had passed. Jennifer filled every hour with work, taking extra shifts at St. Mary's Hospital. The nonstop movement kept her from thinking too much, from remembering too sharply. The hospital was chaos, but it made sense, unlike her personal life. Bills stacked on the counter at home, but she didn't complain. Being busy was better than feeling. Better than facing the silence waiting for her every time she walked through her front door. Every other weekend, Jennifer helped Emma pack for her visits with Ryan. The little girl never seemed excited, just resigned. "Don't forget Mr. Giraffe," Jennifer said softly. Emma nodded and tucked her stuffed animal into the bag. Jennifer kissed her on the forehead and smiled, but it never reached her eyes. Watching her daughter walk toward the car broke her in new ways. Every time Emma left, the apartment felt colder. Quieter. Too quiet. Emma returned from her weekends with Ryan quiet and withdrawn. She never had stories. Never had smiles. "Did you have fun, sweetie?" Jennifer would ask gently. Emma would shrug. "We went somewhere. Daddy was tired." Jennifer's gut twisted. Something felt wrong, but pressing her daughter for answers felt unfair. She watched Emma draw silently at the table and wondered how much her daughter was already learning to hold inside. Jennifer sat stiffly in a beige chair across from Dr. Sarah Chen. Therapy had been a suggestion from a coworker. She resisted at first, but now it was her one place of honesty. "It wasn't just the cheating," Jennifer said. "It's the betrayal. From both of them." Dr. Chen nodded. "You're grieving the life you thought you had." Jennifer looked down. "I hate how stupid I feel. How ashamed." The tears came quietly, no drama. Just release. Her friends insisted she try dating again. Just coffee. Just one time. David was nice, sweet, even. A paramedic. Funny in a gentle, unassuming way. He asked about Emma. He listened. But Jennifer felt like she was watching herself from across the table. Laughing on cue. Smiling without meaning it. When he offered to walk her to her car, she declined. "Thanks, but I need to be alone tonight," she said softly. He nodded, understanding. She got in the car and cried the whole way home. Jennifer avoided certain neighborhoods now. Lincoln Park especially. One night she passed a restaurant window and thought she saw them, Ryan and Rebecca. She didn't stop to confirm. Just turned the corner quickly, heart pounding. The shame hit like a wave. Being replaced wasn't the worst part. Being replaced by your best friend, in public, was. She clutched her coat tighter and walked faster, wishing she could erase every part of them from her city. Her coworkers tried to rally around her. "You're amazing," one said. "He's a fool." Jennifer smiled politely, but inside, she felt hollow. They ordered takeout and drank wine. The jokes helped. For a few minutes, she almost laughed. But when they left, the silence returned like a fog. She looked at the dishes and empty bottles and felt the weight of being alone again. No matter how many people tried, some pain could only be carried by the one who was left behind. That night, she scrolled through old photos she hadn't deleted yet. One showed the three of them, laughing, arms around each other at a holiday party. It felt like looking at strangers. How could people who smiled like that be hiding something so cruel? She wanted to scream. But she just stared at the photo until her screen dimmed, then set the phone down and turned off the light. The darkness didn't scare her anymore. It felt honest. "Mommy," Emma whispered as Jennifer tucked her in. "Does Daddy not love you anymore?" The question sliced her open. Jennifer brushed hair from her daughter's forehead. "Why do you ask that?" Emma shrugged. "He loves Becca now, right?" Jennifer swallowed hard. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, and it hurts people. But that doesn't mean you were ever less loved." Emma blinked slowly. "But I don't want another mommy." Jennifer pulled her close and kissed her cheek. You won't have to. Jennifer sat in the dark, listening to the quiet breathing of her daughter asleep nearby. The question lingered. Does he not love you anymore? She had no answer. Not for Emma. Not for herself. She used to believe love was strong enough to overcome anything. But now, she wasn't sure if love had ever been part of it at all. Maybe it had been obligation. Or fear. Or illusion. Whatever it was gone. And she was still here. Jennifer stared at the letter in her hands. A wedding invitation. Her breath caught as her eyes scanned the names, Ryan Walsh and Rebecca Martinez. She stood frozen in the doorway, the envelope limp in her fingers. 4 months. That's how long it had been since he walked out. 4 months since Rebecca looked her in the eye and said, it wasn't planned. Now they were getting married, in 2 weeks. Her stomach turned. How could they move on so fast while she was still bleeding? She dialed Ryan's number with shaking hands. He picked up after a few rings. You can't be serious, she said before he could speak. You're getting married? Already? His voice was calm. Yes. The date is set. And Emma? Did you even think about how this affects her? Jennifer snapped. Emma knows, Ryan replied. She's fine. She's 8, Ryan. She doesn't even know what this means. I can marry who I want, Jennifer, he said flatly. Her hands balled into fists. Minutes later, her phone lit up with Rebecca's name. Jennifer stared at it, jaw clenched, the screen buzzing in her hand. She let it ring. Then again. And again. Each call a reminder of what she'd lost. She finally blocked the number. She had nothing left to hear. No apology would undo what had been done. The woman who once knew every corner of her soul had become a stranger. And strangers didn't deserve explanations. Emma returned from her weekend with Ryan unusually quiet. She set her backpack down and shuffled into the living room. Mommy? She asked softly. Jennifer turned, kneeling to meet her eyes. What is it, sweetheart? Emma hesitated. Daddy said he's marrying Aunt Becca on Saturday. Jennifer's breath hitched. He told you that? Emma nodded. He said she's going to be my new stepmom now. Jennifer blinked back the sting. Okay, she whispered. Thanks for telling me, baby. Jennifer pulled her daughter into a hug and held her longer than usual. Emma rested her head on her mother's shoulder, unaware of the storm brewing behind her calm face. Will you come to the wedding too? Emma asked. Jennifer pulled back slightly, brushing a curl from her daughter's cheek. No, honey. That's just for you and Daddy. Why not? Because sometimes grown-ups need different kinds of space. Emma nodded quietly, not fully understanding. Neither did Jennifer. The apartment was silent that night except for the soft flutter of paper in Jennifer's hands. She turned the invitation over and over, like it might disappear if she did it enough. Part of her wanted to burn it. The other part couldn't let it go. They were really doing it. They had stolen her husband, her best friend, her home, and now they were sealing it with flowers and cake. She set the card down and stared at it. The name Rebecca Walsh made her nauseous. The morning of the wedding came. Jennifer dressed Emma in a pale blue dress and fixed her hair in soft curls. At the curb, Ryan waited in his car. Jennifer crouched beside her daughter and zipped her jacket. You be brave, okay? She whispered. Emma nodded. Will there be cake? I'm sure there will. She kissed her on the forehead and stood up. Ryan didn't say much. Just nodded. Jennifer waved once. Then turned and walked back inside before she could fall apart. Back inside, Jennifer stood by the window, watching the car disappear around the corner. She didn't cry, not yet. Just stood there, curtain in hand, her mind blank. Her daughter was at their wedding. The two people she trusted most had rewritten the story without her. She thought about how the house must be decorated, the vows being spoken, the photos being taken. And she was alone, breathing through each second like it was glass in her lungs. She turned on the TV just for noise. Cartoons flickered on the screen, a show Emma liked. Jennifer put a blanket over her legs and curled up on the couch. She stared at the images without processing them. The apartment smelled like lavender cleaner and loneliness. She tried to eat something but couldn't. The fork clinked against the plate untouched. She sat there for hours, barely moving, letting the silence eat away at her edges. Emma returned just after sunset. Jennifer opened the door to see her daughter holding a cupcake box, her dress wrinkled from the day. It was okay, Emma said before her mom could ask. I danced with Daddy. Jennifer nodded, stepping aside. That's nice, baby. They took pictures. Did you smile? A little. Jennifer closed the door behind her and knelt down. Welcome home, she whispered, hugging her daughter like she hadn't seen her in years. Jennifer stood by the window holding Emma's school newsletter when her eyes caught a charge on her bank app. Ryan had paid for a luxury kids museum experience. She frowned. Ryan used to fight over grocery prices, now he was funding weekend adventures, spa days, and restaurant tabs. Emma had started mentioning new places and cool hotels. Jennifer couldn't piece it together. Ryan was just a mid-level accountant. Nothing added up. And that scared her more than she let on. Where did Daddy take you this weekend? Jennifer asked as she folded laundry. Emma grinned. We went to that hotel with the glass elevator again. Again? Yeah. It goes to our floor super fast. Jennifer paused. What floor do you live on? I don't know. The one with the plants in the hallway. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. That didn't sound like the townhouse Ryan had rented after the divorce. Something had changed, and Emma's innocence revealed more than she realized. Later that night, Jennifer opened Ryan's LinkedIn page, scanning it for clues. Same job. Same position. No new titles, no big promotions. She ran some numbers on a separate spreadsheet: housing costs in Lincoln Park, estimated private school tuition Rebecca had once mentioned, the price of luxury SUVs. The math didn't work. Not unless Ryan had come into money or was hiding something. Jennifer sat back, staring at the screen. The truth was starting to whisper, and she was finally ready to listen. Jennifer waited near the daycare entrance during drop-off. Ryan stepped out of the car, Emma in tow. Jennifer's breath hitched. He looked different, paler, thinner. Even his movements were slower, like he was conserving energy. Hey, she said, trying to sound neutral. You all right? Ryan forced a smile. Just tired. She studied him. His collar hung loose on his neck, his eyes shadowed. Before she could say more, he kissed Emma's head and left. Something was very, very wrong. As they colored flashcards together, Emma chatted away. Daddy's new house has an elevator, she said. Jennifer smiled. Really? That's fancy. He said it's for when he gets tired, Emma added. Jennifer paused. Tired? Yeah, like when his legs don't want to walk upstairs. Jennifer's stomach turned. Ryan was always active, ran 5Ks, hiked, biked. The idea of him needing an elevator wasn't just odd. It was frightening. She didn't say anything. Just smiled and passed the next card. Curious, Jennifer drove through Lincoln Park and spotted a building she hadn't noticed before. It matched Emma's description: plants in the hallway, glass elevator visible through the front. A doorman greeted a woman walking her dog. Jennifer parked a block away and stared at the address. If Ryan lived here, the rent would be astronomical. She gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her ex-husband was hiding something, and for the first time, she was afraid it had nothing to do with Rebecca. I think something's wrong with Ryan, Jennifer told her coworker over coffee. He looks sick. Like, really sick. Her friend tilted her head. Have you asked him directly? Jennifer nodded. He brushed it off. But Emma said he uses the elevator when his legs get tired. Her friend frowned. That doesn't sound like him. Exactly. Jennifer looked down. I feel like something's unraveling, and I'm the last to know. Her friend placed a hand on hers. Then maybe it's time to dig deeper. Back home, Jennifer flipped through the notes she'd started keeping. Emma's offhand comments. Dates Ryan missed pickups. Sudden gifts. Rebecca's schedule changes. None of it fit. A timeline was forming, messy and full of gaps. She rubbed her temples, trying to piece it together. What scared her most wasn't just the betrayal anymore, it was the sense that something much bigger was beneath the surface. And no one was telling her the truth. At 11:42 p.m., Jennifer sent a message: Are you feeling okay? You look pale this morning. Just checking. She waited. The text showed delivered, but not read. She stared at the screen until the battery warning popped up. He always replied quickly, even when things were tense. But not this time. The silence said more than words could. She set the phone down and turned off the lamp, but sleep never came. Jennifer stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair absently. Her reflection stared back, tired, weathered, but not broken. She had survived the divorce, the betrayal, the silence, and now this. Whatever it was, she would face it. She touched the edge of the frame and whispered to herself, if you're not going to tell me, I'll find out myself. And for the first time in weeks, she felt not anger, but clarity. Jennifer turned into the cereal aisle and froze. There, standing beside the oatmeal, was Rebecca. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither moved. Then Rebecca gave a hesitant wave and an awkward smile. "Hey, Jen," she said, her voice tight. Jennifer forced herself to breathe, then nodded once. "Hi." The tension crackled between them, unspoken but dense. The last time they saw each other, it had been court dates in silence. Now, aisle 5, Rebecca tried to make small talk. "So, Ryan proposed in Paris. Can you believe that?" Jennifer blinked. "Paris?" "Yeah, on the Seine. It was magical." But Emma had said it happened at a steakhouse in Chicago. Jennifer didn't challenge it, not yet. "Sounds elaborate," she replied. Rebecca nodded too quickly. "We're thinking about kids soon, you know." Seconds later, she added, "But we also want to travel the world first." The contradictions were piling up. And Jennifer was counting. Rebecca glanced at her watch. "I should go, appointments, you know how it is." Jennifer stepped aside as Rebecca pushed past with her cart, avoiding eye contact. Jennifer watched her walk away, noticing the rigid posture, the unnatural smile. Lies had a way of showing up in the body before the words collapsed. Something was wrong. And Rebecca knew Jennifer could see it. Jennifer sat in her car without turning the engine. Her mind replayed the conversation. The inconsistencies. The weird energy. The way Rebecca seemed like someone impersonating herself. She used to know every tick, every pause in that voice. But now, it was like talking to a stranger using her best friend's face. She didn't know what was going on, but her gut was screaming that the truth was close. And ugly. On a quiet Sunday, Jennifer spotted Margaret Walsh sitting on a bench near the park. The woman who'd always greeted her with politeness and distance now looked small, shoulders slumped, eyes red. Jennifer hesitated, then approached. "Margaret?" The older woman looked up, startled. Her lips quivered. "Jennifer," she said softly. "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve any of this." Jennifer blinked. "What do you mean?" But Margaret shook her head. "I can't. I've said too much." She stood and walked away. Jennifer remained frozen, watching Margaret disappear down the path. That single moment unraveled more than hours of guesswork. You didn't deserve this. Not from Rebecca. Not from Ryan. What did Margaret know? What was she trying not to say? Jennifer's hands trembled slightly as she pulled out her phone, but she didn't know who to call. There was no one left to ask for the truth without stepping into another layer of lies. After her weekend with Ryan, Emma was quieter than usual. "Did you have fun?" Jennifer asked gently. Emma nodded, but her eyes didn't match her answer. "We stayed in a lot," she mumbled. "Daddy was sleeping." Jennifer's eyebrows pulled together. "Was he sick?" "He said he was tired." Emma looked away. Jennifer kept her focus on the road, her mind racing. She wanted to ask more, but Emma already looked like she regretted saying anything. That evening, Jennifer helped Emma unpack her overnight bag. A small paper fell from the folds of a sweatshirt. She picked it up, just a doodle, childlike scribbles of a stick figure lying in bed, with another one standing nearby. The caption said, "Shh." Jennifer's chest tightened. "Did you draw this?" she asked. Emma nodded slowly. "And Becca said not to tell you too much. She said it would make you sad." Jennifer swallowed hard. "You can tell me anything. Always." She stared at the drawing long after Emma had gone to bed. The innocent lines told more truth than any adult had. Ryan was sick, she was sure of it now. And Rebecca was covering for him. But why? Why this elaborate, painful lie? And why cut Jennifer out, after everything? She traced the stick figures with her finger. They weren't just hiding something, they were hiding it from her specifically. That hurt more than any affair ever could. Jennifer leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, watching Emma sleep peacefully. Her daughter didn't know the war waging around her. The secrets, the lies, the slow unraveling. But Jennifer did. And soon, she would find out why. The truth wasn't just close, it was closing in. And Jennifer was done waiting for it to reveal itself. Jennifer sat parked across from the clinic, her hands clenched on the wheel. Through the windshield, she saw him, Ryan, emerging from the doors of Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He wore a surgical mask and walked slowly, shoulders hunched, as if every step cost him something. It wasn't a dentist's office or a checkup clinic. It was oncology. The word glowed above the doors like a silent verdict. Her chest tightened. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about something else entirely. Inside, Jennifer found a familiar face, Nina, a nurse she'd trained with years ago. "Ryan Walsh," Jennifer asked quietly. Does he? Is he a patient here? Nina hesitated. I shouldn't say anything. Jennifer stepped closer. Please. After a pause, Nina looked down. He's been under oncology care. For about 8 months. Jennifer's stomach dropped. That timeline. It lined up with the beginning of everything. The coldness. The distance. The divorce. She staggered back. Oh my God. She found a bench outside and sat down hard, her legs barely holding her. 8 months. He'd known. He'd been sick the whole time. While she begged to fix their marriage, he was planning how to disappear from her life. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Her mind spun in 1,000 directions. All the lies suddenly made sense. And somehow, that made them hurt more. He hadn't stopped loving her. He had tried to protect her. And in doing so, he had destroyed them. She drove straight to Margaret's house, her heart pounding. When the door opened, Margaret looked surprised and guarded. I know, Jennifer said immediately. I know about the tumor. About Ryan. Margaret's face crumbled. Who told you? Doesn't matter. I want to hear it from you, Margaret sighed, stepped aside. Come in, she said. Her voice was thin. You deserve the truth. Even if he didn't want you to hear it, Margaret didn't sit. She stared out the window as she spoke. He was diagnosed last fall. A rare brain tumor. Inoperable, aggressive. He made me promise not to tell you. Jennifer's jaw clenched. Why? Margaret turned, eyes glassy. Because of your father. He saw what cancer did to you. He remembered how you fell apart, Jennifer whispered, so he thought it'd be easier if I hated him? Margaret nodded. He believed losing you that way would hurt you less than watching him die. Jennifer stood, slowly. He didn't even give me the choice, she said, voice breaking. He decided for me. Margaret didn't reply. There was nothing to say. The silence between them felt heavy with shared grief, different kinds, but tied to the same man. Everything, Jennifer whispered. The coldness. The affair. The wedding. It was all fake. Margaret shook her head. The pain was real. But the reasons. They weren't what you thought. Jennifer turned toward the door. I need to see him. The drive home felt like floating. Jennifer's vision blurred between tears and traffic lights. Her whole life had been rewritten in a single afternoon. Ryan wasn't a villain. He was a man preparing to die. And she had hated him for it. Had screamed and cried and bled without knowing the truth. She clenched the steering wheel, heart pounding. There was still time. Maybe not to fix everything, but to face it. To look him in the eyes and say, you should have trusted me. That night, Jennifer pulled out the wedding photo from her nightstand. Their faces smiled back, frozen in a better time. She stared at it until her vision blurred again. Why didn't you let me love you through it? She whispered. Why did you think I couldn't handle it? The frame trembled in her grip. She didn't smash it. She just held it. As if maybe the version of him in the photo still owed her an answer. She opened a notebook and began writing, dates, conversations, Emma's words. It wasn't about uncovering secrets anymore. It was about understanding. She wasn't going to let the truth die quietly, buried under pity and misguided protection. She needed to see Ryan. Not the version who left her, but the one who tried, however wrongly, to shield her from grief. She wiped her eyes and kept writing, her heart split wide open. As the first light crept over the skyline, Jennifer stood by the window, coffee untouched in her hand. The truth had changed everything. And it was still unraveling. But now she saw the map behind the mess. Not just pain, but intention. Not just betrayal, but protection. The next step was hers. And she would take it, not as a woman scorned, but as someone finally seeing clearly. Jennifer walked into the cafe with her pulse thudding in her ears. Rebecca sat near the back, fingers wrapped tightly around a paper cup. She looked up, startled, then tried to mask it with a forced smile. Jennifer didn't return it. She crossed the room slowly and sat across from her former best friend without a word. The silence between them stretched, loud and full of everything they hadn't said. Talk, Jennifer finally whispered. Rebecca looked down at her hands, then up again. You already know about Ryan, don't you? Jennifer nodded. Tell me the truth. All of it, Rebecca sighed. He came to me before the divorce. Said he was sick. That it was terminal. He knew I'd lost David to cancer. He asked me to help Emma, help you. Jennifer's jaw clenched. So you agreed to lie? No. I agreed to protect you, Rebecca replied. But the lines got blurry. I didn't mean to fall for him, Rebecca whispered. I really didn't. I fought it. But watching someone face death like that, it changes you. He wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about you. About Emma. About how to make this easier for you. Jennifer's eyes filled with unshed tears. So you thought replacing me was the answer? It wasn't about replacing anyone, Rebecca said. It was about giving him peace while he still had time. I told him we should tell you, Rebecca continued. So many times. But he made me promise. He said if you knew, you'd come back out of guilt. Not love. Jennifer turned her face away. Her hands gripped her knees under the table. You had no right, she said, to decide that for me. Rebecca nodded, tears finally falling. I know I didn't. But I loved him too, Jen. Not from the beginning, but eventually. And by then, it was too late to undo it. I wanted to tell you so badly, Rebecca said, her voice cracking. Every time you cried to me about how confused you were, I was dying inside. Her face crumpled. He's getting worse, Jen. The treatments aren't working. That's why he's spending so much. He just wants Emma to have good memories. Jennifer blinked hard. Her rage trembled inside her chest, warring with the guilt and grief rising like a tide. Nothing about this was simple anymore. He took everything from me, Jennifer said quietly. But he also tried to give me something. What? A cleaner goodbye? Rebecca nodded slowly. He thought it would be easier if you hated him. Easier than watching him fade. Jennifer let out a bitter laugh. Well, it worked. The silence between them stretched again. Then, softer, he's dying, Becca. And we're just existing around it. Pretending it's not happening. Rebecca wiped her eyes. It is happening. Every day. I didn't plan the wedding, Rebecca murmured. He asked. I didn't say yes right away. I said no at first, actually. But he said he needed structure. Closure. Something beautiful before everything turned to pain. She looked up. I loved him, Jen. Not the way you did. But enough to stay. Enough to help him through the hardest thing he'll ever face. Jennifer closed her eyes. And I hated you for it. Rebecca nodded. I hated myself too. Afterward, Jennifer walked out into the gray afternoon air, her body heavy. The traffic moved slowly. People passed by in casual conversations. The world kept turning. But hers had tilted. Rebecca's words echoed in her head like a confession she hadn't asked for, but needed. Ryan hadn't stopped loving her, he had just rewritten how to say goodbye. And in doing so, he'd left her holding the broken pieces of something they never got to finish. She sat in her car outside a nearby park, watching children play, their laughter distant and sharp against her stillness. Emma was somewhere safe for now. But the truth no longer could be hidden. Ryan was dying. And everything, every fight, every silence, every strange choice, was part of that. She felt hollowed out. But inside that hollow space, something new was stirring. A question. Not why me? But what now? Jennifer stepped back into her apartment like she was returning from war. Nothing had moved. Everything looked the same. But she was different. She had the truth now. And the weight of it settled over her shoulders like a soaked coat. She leaned against the door, eyes closed, breathing in the quiet. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't numb. She was ready. Whatever came next, she would face it, not as the abandoned wife, but as the only one still standing. Jennifer stood in the doorway, her heart racing. Ryan looked up slowly from the couch, thinner now, paler, but still unmistakably him. She stepped inside. You don't get to protect me like that, she said, voice trembling. Not from this. Not from you. Ryan's lips parted, but he said nothing. He looked like he'd been waiting for this, for her. For the truth to finally walk through the door, even if it came wrapped in pain. I couldn't let you go through that again, Ryan said. Watching your father fade. It broke you. I couldn't be the reason you hurt like that again. Jennifer's throat closed. So you chose to make me hate you instead? He nodded. You'd survive hate. But not another death. She dropped into the chair across from him, voice shaking. We made vows, Ryan. In sickness and in health. You don't get to rewrite that alone. She moved closer, kneeling in front of him. You don't have to face this alone anymore, she said. I'm not walking away. Not again. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want your pity. This isn't pity, she said firmly. It's love. You idiot. A weak smile cracked across his face, followed by a sob. He lowered his forehead to hers, and they stayed like that, together, broken, but breathing. In the weeks that followed, they created a strange new rhythm. Jennifer helped coordinate appointments. Rebecca remained by his side as caregiver. The three of them, once torn apart, now united by something stronger than pride. Forgiveness. "You still love him," Rebecca had said one afternoon. "You always did." Jennifer nodded. "So did you." Rebecca smiled sadly. "That's why I'll let him go." The treatments continued. Some days were worse than others. But Jennifer never left. She sat beside him, read aloud, held his hand when the pain hit hardest. Ryan stopped pretending. He let her in again, raw and unguarded. "You make it easier," he whispered. "Not to be afraid." Jennifer kissed his knuckles. "You're not alone." "Not anymore." And for the first time since the diagnosis, Ryan believed it. Outside the oncology clinic, Jennifer pulled Rebecca into a hug. It was awkward at first, then real. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not giving up on him." "Or me." Rebecca smiled, eyes misty. "I'm glad he has both of us." In that moment, the hurt didn't vanish, but it softened. They had all lost something. But they had also gained something more honest in its place. Something chosen, not stolen. 3 months later, the doctor stared at the latest scans, eyebrows raised. "It's shrinking," he said slowly. "The tumor's shrinking," Jennifer gasped. Ryan blinked. "Is that even possible?" The doctor nodded. "It's rare. But sometimes, the emotional environment, the support, makes a difference." Ryan turned to Jennifer. "You saved me." She shook her head, smiling through tears. "No. You let us love you. That's what saved you." 6 months later, in a simple garden ceremony, they said "I do" again. Jennifer wore a soft blue dress. Ryan looked stronger, healthier than he had in a year. Rebecca stood behind them, not as a rival, but as the maid of honor. When the officiant said "You may kiss the bride," they laughed through their tears. It wasn't a second wedding. It was the continuation of the first, interrupted, but never broken. Emma ran down the aisle in a white dress, throwing petals from a basket with both hands, cheeks flushed with joy. She paused halfway to wave dramatically at her parents. The crowd chuckled. Jennifer wiped a tear. Ryan smiled wide. Their daughter had seen the worst of them, but she also got to witness the miracle of repair. That was the legacy they were choosing to build now. One she could believe in. On a breezy afternoon in Grant Park, the four of them sat on a picnic blanket. Emma chased bubbles in the grass while Jennifer leaned into Ryan's shoulder. Rebecca poured lemonade, laughing at something Emma shouted. No ceremony. No speeches. Just breath, laughter, and the gift of time. Ryan was in remission. The pain hadn't vanished, but the love had endured. And with honesty, forgiveness, and second chances, they'd rewritten the ending. Together, some endings aren't really endings. They're beginnings, written with forgiveness, built on truth, and healed by love. If this story stayed with you, let it go further. Share it with someone who believes people can change. That families can mend. That love, real love, is worth fighting for. Tell us in the comments what this story meant to you. We'd love to hear your voice. And if stories like this speak to your soul, hit subscribe and stay close. There's more coming, stories that just might change the way you see love, too.